Welcome to the AI Hustle Podcast, the podcast where we break down the latest in AI news, tools, and interview experts helping you hustle and do more using AI. If you've been following the podcast for a while, you'll know that over the last 6 months, I've been working on a stealth AI startup. Of the hundreds of projects I've covered, this is the one that I believe has the greatest potential. So today I'm excited to announce AIBox. AIBox is a no-code AI app building platform paired with the App Store for AI that lets you monetize your AI tools. The platform lets you build apps by linking together AI models like ChatGPT, Midjourney, and 11 Labs. Eventually, we'll integrate with software like Gmail, Trello, and Salesforce, so you can use AI to automate every function in your organization. To get notified when we launch and be one of the first to build on the platform, you can join the waitlist at aibox.ai. The link is in the show notes. We are currently raising a seed round of funding. If you're an investor that is focused on disruptive tech, I'd love to tell you more about the platform. You can reach out to me at jaden@aibox.ai. I'll leave that email in the show notes. Today, Google Bard has released some absolutely massive new features that make it better than ChatGPT and GPT-4. I'm sorry to say, I've always been a long-term, OpenAI GPT fan. I have their premium, but Google Bard really just did something very powerful that I think is giving not just OpenAI a run for their money, but I genuinely believe it makes it a more useful and more powerful tool. So today on the podcast, I'm going to dive into the new features they've just added and what this means for the industry overall. So the first thing that you should know that they added is the ability for you to input images and get responses back. Now, the thing about this and a bunch of these other features is some of these things are things that OpenAI has announced that they're going to do with GPT-4. Like when they announced GPT-4 months ago, they said, pretty soon you're going to be able to, draw a website on a napkin and put it in. We're going to code it for you. Like they said this, but then they never actually shipped it. And if there's anything that I am not a fan of, it's announcing new features and capabilities and not shipping them. Like, what's the point? Just wait till you're going to ship it to tell us, because I don't want to know months ahead what is possible, allegedly, what I could have allegedly, but don't. So Google beat them to the punch on this feature, which, let's be honest, this thing was months ago that they announced allegedly it could do. So I really think this is quite impressive. So essentially I saw a screenshot of someone, they said, what color or what's the color of this cat? They uploaded a picture of a cat. Google Bard said, the cat in the image is white with blue eyes, blah, blah, blah. It gives a bunch of other information about this. This is awesome for people with visual impairments and disabilities to be able to see stuff. Of course, that's like one version, but people are saying that this is really impressive for a lot of different reasons. I mean, theoretically, you could screenshot a CAPTCHA. Oh man, I didn't even think about this implication. You could screenshot a CAPTCHA, put it in here and say, what are the numbers and letters in this picture? It could tell you. And you could just build a bot or have, hackers or spammers or scammers or whoever completely kill CAPTCHAs with a tool like this. It does a lot more than just killing CAPTCHAs, but overall, I think that is, one very interesting use case. There'll be many, many more. The next feature that they recently launched is expanded language. So you're going to be able to actually use Google Bard in over 40 languages, including Arabic, Chinese, German, Hindi, Spanish. And I think this is going to be really impressive. You're going to be able to access Google Bard in more places now with their recent update, including Brazil and across Europe. Still not in Canada, which is a really big bummer because I'm on vacation in Canada for the next month or so. And so I got to use a VPN every time I want to use this or other AI tools, which in my opinion is absolutely ridiculous. But that's another topic for another time. The other feature that's really interesting is you can now access previous conversations with Bard. Before it was just like you chat with it, you come back and it's gone. So this is good. This is similar to ChatGPT. This is whatever. This just should have been here from the beginning, but happy that they have this now. Something that is interesting is that you can actually pin your most important threads to make them easier to access and to kind of organize it better. I actually do think this is interesting. This is kind of annoying. With ChatGPT, like sometimes I'm like trying to scroll down and figure out what thread it was, the way it's auto-labeled. It's not my favorite. And so being able to pin stuff, I think that's a good first step. Honestly, there just needs to be a folder system there where you can drag prompts, you can make folders and organize it like crazy. I think that would be an absolute game changer, but I'm sure it'll get there eventually. The other one that Google Bard now has is text-to-speech capabilities. So you can listen to a response in over 40 languages. And I think this is really, really cool because it really kind of expands your ability to explore the ideas. If you get it to write a poem for you, you can listen to what that poem actually sounds like when someone's reading it out loud. Again, good for people with different impairments, to being able to actually just like listen to it being read back to you immediately right there. I'm curious to see if they'll do like an export audio feature. I think that might be really interesting, would have a ton of implications, right? That would be something similar to what 11 Labs is doing, where they allow you to do text to audio and actually export the files to use them for whatever you want. The next feature that I think is really impressive is that you're able to, actually not really impressive. This is definitely a hyperbole. Sort of useful is that you can share your conversations with friends. So there's before this been a lot of third-party apps with things like, I think there's one called Share GPT that got kind of popular when ChatGPT launched. But this is useful. Like you can save the conversation you've had, share it with a friend so they can actually read through it. This is really useful for a lot of different things. You figure out how to do something cool, or you get a cool response, and you want to share that piece of information. This is a great way to do it. The next one is that you can easily adjust Bard's responses. So you can actually change the tone and style of Bard's responses to 5 different options. You have simple, long, short, professional, or casual. Personally, I love this because I have a lot of different prompts in ChatGPT where I'm like, do this in a very professional tone, or do this in a casual tone, or make sure you're only using 3 sentences in this response, like trying to get the exact thing. And so it's kind of cool that like, if you need the same type of response a whole bunch of times in a row, you could just go and set the default option to one of those, which is pretty useful, to be honest. Another one that is fairly interesting is the ability to export code to more places. So Google Bard's going to allow you to export Python code to Replit in addition to Google Colab. I think this feature is now live in over 40 languages, which is pretty awesome. Another thing you can do is modifiable responses. So Google Bard now allows you to modify its responses according to your requirements and needs, right? So it gives you a response, and you can go and edit that response right there. I think that's going to be really powerful because that's going to help. It's like essentially you're training it to know exactly what you want as a response. So I think that's going to give it some great data. Another thing you can do is you now have the ability. Well, okay, so this is kind of another feature we already covered, but essentially, with the one where you can upload an image and it can tell what's inside the image, you can do more than that. Like the implications of being able to upload images and use images as prompts gets a lot bigger. So you can do things like the napkin, the classic napkin one that ChatGPT announced that they never actually launched, where you can upload an image of a website that you drew on a napkin and it can make your website. Someone actually literally did it, and it's like kind of cool. There was a couple other really cool implications for this. Someone did one where they uploaded an image and they said, give me the recipe for this image, and it went and found a really good recipe. Now, this is something that I think Google is going to absolutely crush it at. Like, if you really think about it, Google already had like a feature. So a lot of this tech they already had, they just weren't integrating it all and stringing it together. And so I think that's why Microsoft and OpenAI are going to kind of struggle. But they already had the ability with Google Images to take a picture of something and it would like search Google Images for that photo. So you can imagine there's a few different ways that you could go about getting a recipe, because I've actually asked ChatGPT for recipes before and it's notoriously bad. Like the I don't know, like the ratios of ingredients is just not correct. But I think this actually is going to be a lot better because Google can essentially, they could do 2 things. They could take your image and search it on Google and see like the most similar images to that. And then they could go and see if those are attached to like recipe websites, or they could use their image identifier to identify what the image, like what food is in the image. And then they can go search for recipes for that specific thing and share them. And the way that Google AI works is it's more like they go and find existing things and just like re-say them, existing actual useful outputs, whereas OpenAI is kind of like making random stuff from scratch based off of whatever's in its database with the 2021 cutoff. So I actually think it might be better, it would have better results making a recipe off of an image you gave it. So that's kind of cool. Another one that someone did was they created an iPhone app from a screenshot. So they literally went and screenshotted the timer app on their iPhone. They put it on and said, I believe that their prompt was something like recreate the app you see in the screenshot, make sure it's fully functioning, provide all of the necessary code for it to work, write your code in Swift, and then they uploaded the image and it literally was able to go and code the app. Now, the app wasn't absolutely perfect, But there's a couple things they had to go and fix in it, but like pretty much it did the whole thing. I watched the process of them like tweaking the code. There's just a handful of small little tweaks they did, and the thing was fully running. So it's really, really impressive. They ran it in Xcode, and I think this is like an awesome implication. Obviously, that's a small app, but like the amount of time that would save you could be pretty astronomical. Another really interesting use case of the uploading the images is that someone actually got Google Bard to diagnose a brain CT image. So it was a scan of the brain. They uploaded it, and they asked Google Bard for a diagnosis of like a tumor in it, pretty much, which was crazy. They can also, other people have also done the same one where they essentially converted a screenshot of an image to code. They got someone to, convert a screenshot to Jetpack Compose, which was pretty impressive. And overall, I just think, the image one is going to be really big because they're integrating it with code. So I think that's going to be absolutely insane. But there's a lot of really other interesting use cases that are starting to pop up on Twitter that we're finding. So overall, I think this is actually a very massive update for Google. I got to give them a hats off. I got to say Bard is officially better than GPT for the time being, in my opinion, with these integrations, and especially with the image upload. That's the biggest one. Google Bard has the capability, or ChatGPT has the capability of doing that, GPT-4. So now it's just left to be said when they will actually launch that. And of course, GPT is definitely better for developers or anyone building anything because their API is already out. And is way easier to integrate. So they do have a leg up on some things, but it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out and how they kind of fight off Google Bard as it's making these rapid improvements and making their product like very, very quickly the best product on the market. If you are looking for an innovative and creative community of people using ChatGPT, you need to join our ChatGPT creators community. I'll drop a link in the description to this podcast. We'd love to see you there, where we share tips and tricks of what is working in ChatGPT. It's a lot easier than a podcast, as you can see screenshots, you can share and comment on things that are currently working. So if this sounds interesting to you, check out the link in the comment. We'd love to have you in the community. Thanks for tuning in to the AI Hustle podcast. If you could do us a massive favor, we would really, really appreciate it if you could leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. This helps people find the podcast. It helps people know this is a good place to go. And we would really, really appreciate it, as it helps us continue to bring on incredible guests and share incredible content for you to listen to.